Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Global Biceps Day, Global Biceps Weekend 2021, powered by D65 Champs. It's day one today, and we hope you are doing well and keeping safe. I'm Sagar Rupani, moderating this session along with the Vivek Patil. This session is presented by Venkata Subbarao Polisetty. Venkata will be talking about connecting dots with the Power Platform. Venkata is a C# Corner MVP and Microsoft MCT. He is Power Platform and Azure architect. He is also community lead at D365 Champs community and a blogger. He has got almost 13 plus years of experience in various technologies such as Azure integration, unified service desk, database designing, maintenance, and etc. Before I hand over the session to Venkata, I would like to mention that if you have any queries, please feel free to drop it into the chat window. We will take them either during the session, if possible, or during the QA time. Thank you again for joining and enjoy the session. Venkata, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Sagar, for your quick introduction. So, hi everyone. Uh, Let me share my screen. Hope you can see my screen. Right?
Yes.
Okay. So, without wasting much time, so this is my discussion for today. So, about me, already Sagar explained and gave the inputs about it. So, these are all the various badges that I got it, and also these are the channels that I can be reached out. Okay, so main reason, right? So if you see the main app categories in the Power Platform, you can ask why, what is this connecting dots with Power Platform? So many of the people working on the Xylos in Canvas apps, or there could be working on the Power Automate or the model driven apps and all. But if suppose there is a good way of doing the programming, that every time make it as a common thing so that it can be used. That is how the layered way of architecture that is been built. So generally we call it as in business layer. So in a three-tier architecture or entire architecture, specifically business logic will be built on one particular as a layer. The main important thing is so the tight coupling between the layers will not be present. So at any point of time, this business logic can be used from the UI, or it can be used from the services, so that all the three teams can consecutively or parallelly work together. So whereas the business team, based upon their business needs and all, they can give certain scenarios and the solutions. So based upon that one, the business logic can be built. So based upon this particular business logic, where UI people can work on their Canvas apps, and they can use this particular, they can simply consume it. In the same way, model driven apps or the Power Automate people, they can use this particular consumer or this particular common logic. So generally, in layman terms, common logic. What is common logic means? The logic will be same for all the people, but just you have to make sure that you can use that one. So you can ask me a question. So, okay, Venkat, you are saying about the Power Platform, you are explaining about the different kinds of apps are there and all. So just tell me, how are we connecting to this particular one? Indirectly, whenever you are using any particular Dataverse related connectors which are free and which are licensed, all these particular connectors are nothing but those are all the business logic that has been built on the top of one particular, you can say, business logic layer. So without knowing the complete details of how this particular business logic has been built, we simply, if we know how to call that particular endpoint and use it, then that would suffice. But at times there could be a reason where based upon your solution and based upon your requirement, you are supposed to build this particular business logic of your own, because that is, if you see the options without reinventing any wheel, just if you go to the list of connectors that are available, you don't see that particular connector is not available. So what is the other way of doing it is you have to build that particular connector. So here, whatever the connectors that we are doing it, right, if they are predefined, if they are readily available where Microsoft has given it, those all will be readily available. Simply you should know for which particular integration or for which particular kind of actions and the works that you have to use. Simply you have to select that one. Example, to send an email with the uh, within the Microsoft stack and all, you can use the Dataverse. In the same way, if you wanted to speak with the SharePoint or SharePoint related stack and all, you have to use the SharePoint connector. In the same way, if you wanted to send multiple emails other than the Microsoft, then you can have the Gmail connector. In the same way, in order to have a customer support, all these things, if you wanted to do it, then we have the other ways of other respective connectors are also available. So here in this particular session connecting docs with the Power Platform, I'm going to connect you the way how you can build easily your custom connector. So custom connectors can be developed in various ways. One is by using Azure functions, another way is by using the Azure Logic apps, and the other way is by using the APIs. There is a beautiful documentation that is present over the Microsoft documentation where I can show you, or we can give you those details at the later point of this particular session. So mainly I'm going to concentrate on this particular Azure function. So again, Azure function can be developed in multiple ways. So first one is from the scratch, you can write in the Visual Studio and then compile it, and then you can host that, you can deploy that particular Azure function related logic into an Azure function app. This is the first way of doing it. Second way of doing it is through the portal. So directly the portal, we need to have an resource group that should be present. And for that one, you have to create first Azure function app. You have to create in that particular function app. You can write certain your code and logic on the portal itself, where it does not require any kind of external code editors that are required for compilation or for doing the beautification and all, but just to quickly do the certain things, we can use at certain point of context, we can use these particular Azure functions on the particular cloud. So here in this session, I'm going to use these particular Azure functions, which are which was developed on the portal. Before going to that one, right, let me say about the how we can get any custom connectors. So this custom connector, if you see this one, this particular diagram here, whatever that is being highlighted here. So these are the custom connectors. So the custom connectors, it could be an app. Okay, so here in this particular way, custom connectors, three dots, the three circles that you are seeing here. This is one of the one is the Logic app, and the other one is the Azure functions and the normal web APIs. In this diagram, it was mentioned as an Logic app. Okay, so in the left side, you can see we have the different kinds of apps that are present in the Power Platform. The first one is the Canvas app or the Power Automate Flow. So indirectly, every app and with whether it could be an visual one, Canvas app, or whether it is an the automatic one, that is Flow, it can directly go and speak with these particular custom connectors. In the same way, these custom connectors can also speak with the Test Analytics API as well. So in this particular scenario, I'm going to simply go and touching on these particular areas of custom connectors, speaking with an app and then a Power Automate flow. Instead of the logic app, I'm going to tell you about the Azure functions. Okay, so you are saying about custom connectors. So it is not at all okay. In order to define or create any particular custom connector, right, we have to consider the number of points. Okay, if already certain connectors that are present, if you are readily using it, then it is not a particular issue. But if you are defining your own connector, right, then you have to consider about these factors. First is build and secure your API. That means first, how are we going to build any particular API? So, okay, how API can be built? So API can be built by using Azure function, by using Azure logic apps, or by using the normal web APIs. And next is the security. So security, in how many ways you can provide the security, whether it could be OAuth, whether it could be keys, or the other related way of securing your API. And then the second step here was they describe your API and define the connector. So generally, how can we describe our API means we will define all our methods and give it as in Swagger. So what is a Swagger documentation means? It explains our API. Example, my API have the CRUD operations. So it will expose 4 methods. So to use these particular 4 methods, uh, we use the Swagger documentation or the API will be exposed so that simply just by providing the inputs, they can use it. And also we have to, that is the first way of doing the describing our API. And the second one is defining the connector. Okay, so how are we going to define this particular connector? And so I am telling one more time that before writing any particular custom connector, you have to see first we have to see the already existing connectors are present or not. If you are not aware of it, right, go and first approach the community or first check with your peers, check with your team, whether you could be an architect or whether you could be a developer. First check whatever that is available. Then only define, because for defining any connector or for developing any particular connector, right, there are number of things that you have to take the ownership, because ownership means you have to build it, you have to secure it. It is your responsibility to make this particular connector. And also the third stage is how can we use our connector? Okay, and then the next one is how can we connect, how can we share our connector to the exceptional to the other people. And the third one is also certify your connector, optional. Why the last circle I am saying it as an optional, right? So generally, if you are working on any particular PCF controls and all, right? So what we are doing, anything that that was not available, readily available in PCF gallery. So what we can do it with in order to help the others, just we will build some kind of uh, artifact for our requirement, so that other people, if they have the same kind of requirement, they can simply use it. So that's why the PCF gallery is one of the one stop for all these particular implementations, or to get simply you have to use that particular as and of course there could be some licenses that are present, but again there is no need for to reinvent the wheel. In the same way, if suppose you have your business requirement, so based upon your business requirement, you did all these stages, you have built your API and you have secured that particular API, and you have given uh, the best documentation for the API in the form of the Swagger, and also you have used this connector so that it can be used in the different apps like the Canvas app or different the Power Automate, all these things. And also if we wanted to get this one right, how we can give it a right? Simply we have to give our all these particular details about our connector, saying that a brief documentation that was expected by the Microsoft, so that a Microsoft team of group of people will evaluate our connector. If suppose if our connector, whether it could be small or whether it could be medium or it could be a large scale, if it comes and if it validates all their particular checklist, right, then our connector will be available to the public so that it can be reused. So just like any PCF control, where PCF gallery, where you can find all these list of all the artifacts, in the same way connectors also, if you get certified this connector by the Microsoft, maybe in the next coming releases, this particular connector will also be available for the generic for the general availability. So um, just I'm going to use first time what I'm doing, right, I'm going to first create an Azure function, and then I'm going to create a custom connector, and then I'm going to use the same custom connector in my Canvas app, and in the same way I'm going to use the same custom connector in the Power Automate flow. Okay, so my slide decks are very much thin. Okay, because all these are the conceptual. Maybe you may not get the first place where you will not get the total idea how to use it, but you should be aware that okay, to build these particular things, what are the alternatives that are present. So my concentration is on only on those areas, and yes, this is not the fundamental one, because one should know aware of this Azure function as well as how to write any Canvas app and the Power Automate flows and how to consume them. So that's why it can be defined as an not the novice one. It can be defined as an level 200 kind of session. So I don't see any questions in between. So let me go to the first stage, like this one, Azure function. So how I'm going to build this particular Azure function. So as I said before, just I have built an one particular function app. Okay, and then I have defined in particular function, and I took the trigger as an HTTP trigger. You can ask me a question, oh Ankat, why should we take an HTTP trigger? Okay, because my intention was this particular one should be available to be used in all across. So any user who has this particular URL, they should be in a position simply to use it. And the use case which I took it, right, just I wanted to perform some particular calculation. So if you observe, right, the main logic here that is present, just I am building in one particular object, which is nothing but a class, and I'm using this particular object here, and then deserialize it, that particular one, and return one particular object. So that particular object will have all these details, and it will return one particular object with these values. And generally, any of the any of the developers or any artists that who are participating in this particular session, right, if they have more awareness in the MVC implementations and all, so generally we will generally return any particular views or the results in the form of an objects. So that is how it is been built. And also if you observe, right, this is an async operation. Okay, this particular task is nothing but an async. Async means, so we have to consider 2 points here, synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous means step by step. Asynchronous means parallel. That means the classical example, right, user registers to an application. After registering to an application, sending an welcome note. Okay, so user may not need to respond to that particular welcome note. Okay, that we can call it as an asynchronous. But there is again synchronous way of doing it. Once the user register in, an email will be sent to the user. Until and unless he clicks on that particular link, he cannot log in. So in this particular scenario, the first step, registration, is the synchronous, is the first step, and the second step is clicking on an email where so that his registration can be validated. So this is the second step. So until and unless second step is does not completed, the user cannot use this particular app that he was trying to register it. So that is called the synchronous, step by step. And asynchronous means, okay, everything is independent. It can be happened. That means step by step. So step 1, step 2, step 3 is there. Step 1 is there, and the step 2, if it is parallel, right? So until and unless step 2 does not complete, there is no need for the user to wait for the step 2. He can go for the step 3. So in these scenarios, we will generally use for the asynchronous programming here. And then so an action result. So for the providing any particular action. So here, what is this particular action I'm referring to here, right? Just I am deserializing this particular one. So anything here, right? So I receive the HTTP request, and if any errors are there, just I am logging here, and then I am framing the request body and initializing my class, and that particular class I am just converting through the JSON conversion. And one more important thing here, so any object, you should first, if you wanted to use it, right, first you have to serialize it and also deserialize it. So there are predefined methods that are already available. Simply you can use that one. So Newtonsoft JSON.linkU is already present. If you use this particular library, you will get this JSON convert. So it will simply deserialize this particular object. So serialization means serialize. So in a bookish way of knowledge, right? Converting all these string values into the bits. Serialization, deserialization means bits to the actual values, that we call it as an serialization and deserialization way. So this is how we can do it. So just to save certain particular time, just I have find it. And also this is the second way of building a function through the app. Simply just you can turn on and you can run it. So if you observe my screen, simply if you see it, right, it is connecting. So already it has been connected. So if you observe, right, as I have not provided any values, all with my properties or inside this class have all zeros, I got one particular value as 0. So this is what my first part of it is the Azure function. The second part is the custom connector. So how are we going to create this particular custom connector? So as I promised before, so this is the way how you can build any particular custom connector. The beautiful documentation that is present, where you don't need any particular guidance if you go through this particular one implementation. And here just I am building my API with the Azure functions, and I am securing my API with the API key. And then I am going to describe the API just by create a custom connector. So this one, create a custom connector from the scratch. I'm using this third way. As I said before, there are other ways of doing it, Open API and the Postman collection, where you can use it. And in the fourth way, I'm going to use my connector in Power Automate and Power Apps. I'm going to use the Canvas app here. And I'm not going to share anything about this connector, and I'm not going to this particular process of certifying the my connector. So this is how you can going to do it. So this is my solution here. And the recent release, like we got this kind of modern view of using it, right? So there we can go it and see it. So here, for the people who wanted to directly create, right? This particular user interface is very much beautiful. That means in a solution, if you wanted to see what are the components that are available, if you observe, right, I have one app, I have one cloud flow, I have one connection reference, and I have a custom connector. Okay, so if you wanted to create any canvas app and all, you can do it canvas app or modern driven app. And the pages is a beautiful feature, the custom page, which automation, just I can go custom flow, automated, instant, and scheduled. Here I'm going to see about this particular custom connector. As I said before here, right, build and secure my API. If you see all these particular steps, these steps are present here. So here what I'm going to give, right, what is my particular background that is present. And here what is this particular HTTPS and the HTTP. Host, what I'm going to provide here, uh, just I am going to provide. So here, this is my input, and this is my get function URL. You have to so if you observe here, right, this is my function. Okay, and I have to build, I have to make this particular function into parts so that it can be used later point of time. And this is my key, which I am going to use it. So here what I'm going to provide here, right, this particular host, what is the host that we have to provide here? We have to provide just this particular part, we have to provide it as an host. Okay, and then after that one, I can go to the security, and here, as I said before, right, we can have these particular basic authentication, API key, and OAuth 2.0. So OAuth 2 is there, basic authentication is there, API key is there. I'm going to use an API key. So for the people who was not aware about this particular API key, it is not an rocket size. What is this particular API key is? Just we are going to provide one parameter label and the name with an header and the query. Just I'm going to use this particular query. And then just in the definition, I'm going to create one particular action where I'm going to provide the request from the import from the sample. Just I will provide the post here and the URL and the response body, and as well as the response I'm going to provide it. So before, for to save some time, I have already existing connector that is present here. So let me open that one. So this is my custom connector. So just I have provided the description and the HTTPS, and I have provided this particular host, and then that's it. Just your, so what you need to do here, just you have to get the functional URL of that particular function app, and then in the security, what I have given, right, in this one API key, just I have mentioned the parameter name as particular code. Just if you wanted to edit it here, you can do it, and then go to the definition. So here in this particular definition, just I have given as an operation as this get required CPM. So just I have provided the summary and the description here. And here, as I mentioned, the import from sample, just I have to provide this HTTP trigger as an URL, and the post and the JSON body I have to provide it. So the body, how it looks like here. So it has these values, that is age changes, height, length, and width. That means my response, okay, my request body should be, it is nothing but an JSON with this values, width, height, and length, and the air changes. So just once it is done, right, then what we have to do, right? So at the time of giving this one, you have to provide your connector name, and then you have to click on the update connector. So just like any Power Automate or the Canvas app, we keep on saving it, all right, so that our work uh, will be saved, because there are multiple scenarios which faced, because all the work has been done, but we forget to save that one, right? So that all drama will happen. So if you wanted to get rid of that particular one, just you keep on click on the particular update connector. Okay, and then just go to the code review. As of now, just I have code disabled, just I am not going to do anything. And once you can do its testing, right? So how you can, so first one is we have to establish a connection. So how you can establish a connection here, right? Just as I mentioned before, this key is present, just copy here and paste it here and click on create connection. Once that is done, you will get a connection here, and then click on this particular refresh. After that one, once you refresh, and after refresh, right, again you will not get these values. Don't get panic, just click on update connector and then just refresh your page. Then so just I am going to provide the values, and just you can test your operation. If you observe, right, 1250 is the value that I have received. See how beautiful it is. You wrote the component and you are unit testing it as well, because see, finding an or finding a bug or finding the functionality is very much costly once this was integrated with the other items or other apps and all. So that's why. So this is how you can do it. Once your test operation is done, I got the status as 200 and I got the value as CPM 1250. And whenever you are creating a custom connector, you will face few of the issues, like you will not get the status, you will get the status as 401, saying that uh, you uh, you cannot connect to this particular function app. But if you go to the Azure function and you run it, you could see that it is running. Then don't get panic, just simply go back to the definition and then just verify what is the body that is present, and also make sure that whether you have the default response that is present correctly or not. And after that one, just update the connector and then just refresh here the connections, and then you should see this particular whatever the operation that you have mentioned, it will be present. And now just close this particular connector and again go back to your solution uh, and then publish all the customizations. So you will come across this particular screen, just publish all customizations and then close that particular window. Now we have covered the second part of it. Now what are we going to do it? Just we are going to use this particular custom connector in Canvas app. So how are we going to do it? So just as I said before, we can create this particular app in this way, and Canvas app. So just I took this particular tablet and then provided the app name, and I have created. So in order to save time, just I have created an app already. So already, okay, it has been already opened here. So what I have done here. So first, what are my inputs? My inputs are, okay, let me run this one. So I have 10, 15, 20, 25. So I got this value as 1250. Okay, this is what the value that we also received whenever we unit tested our custom connector. So how I did? So just I took one particular screen, and then for every property, just I took the text areas. Okay, and then just provide also default values. I have just removed it, and I have provided the hint text. Just you have to provide the width and all, and the height and the length and the air change. So here the naming convention that I have followed, right, as per the standards, right, if you are using any text controls and all, the naming convention that is recommended, right, to use the txt as an prefix. And also and to show my result, just I have used this particular lbl result, which is nothing but I will come back to this calculated value what that is present, and then the submit what I am going to provide here. Okay, let us hold on here before explaining this one. So now my inputs are ready. My submit button is half baked and my result is present. Now what we are going to do, right? We have to navigate to this data, and then just we have to go to this add data and then expand this connector, and you should see your particular connector as here. If you are not going to see it, right, then you can add this particular connector and use that one. So whenever you are adding this particular connector, one thing you have to provide, right, just you have to provide this particular key one more time, so that our canvas app will go and connect to that particular Azure Function app. So now my the data, so my particular connector is ready. That means my business logic is ready. So that means from UI, I got all my weapons that is ready to connect to this particular connector. So simply I have designed it, and just in this submit button, just how I am going to do here, I'm going to use certain variables and also um, certain function expressions, and also just I'm going to use the get required CPM, which is nothing but my custom connector method, which I have used, which expects uh, 4 properties, where I'm going to use it with the inputs here. And this particular one dot CPM will provide me that value, and I'm going to bind this into my text that is label. That's why this is text is present, and then just I'm going to concatenate. So concatenate function, what it will perform, right? It will helps us to concatenate 2 strings. So calculated CPM and the text is, and then I'm going to again took one particular variable that is calculated value, and then just I am assigning this particular value to there. So that is how just I am going to use it. And this is one of the way. So I saw many of the people just without knowing it, right, everything they will write in a single line. Okay, so the best way of writing any particular documentation or your code, right, your code should be readable. So that's why you have to make sure that whether you are present in the project or not, whether you are present uh, in that particular organization or not. If any person sees your code, right, it should be very much readable. Then only you can have a good hygiene in your coding style. Okay, so now just I have clicked on this one submit, and again another important tip here. Just like in Word and the PowerPoint, we have the shortcut Control S. Here in the Canvas app as well, you have this main Control S. If you click on this particular Control S, then obviously it saves the Power App. As I said before, most of the people just they concentrate on writing the logic and all, but they forget to save this particular one. If you say if you don't save this app and all, right, all your code will get missed. And also you can ask me a question. So okay, Venkat, I have saved one time. The second time onwards, I have not done anything. Here where the beautiful feature of the Power Apps or the where the Power App Studio will come into picture, it will automatically save all our work. Okay, that's why the first entry point is you have to save your app. Then onwards you can do it. And also here, as I did some changes here, it was mentioning that the changes are not published. Just you can publish this version. So this is how my part of the slide, that is using the custom connector in the Canvas app, can be done. So now the next part here, right? How are we going to use the same custom connector in the Power Automate flow? So again, go back to here. Just I'm closing this app, going back to my environment, going back to the solution. So again, if you wanted to provide or create any cloud flow, right, just you can go for this automated instant or scheduled one. Just an introduction here for the cloud flows and all. So when instant flows are used, right, to have a quick test, uh, right, then generally we use the instant flow. Whereas the automated means in order to run this particular cloud flow, there should be certain actions that should be performed. Then only this automated flow will get fired. And the scheduled one, example, for every month or for every week, if you wanted to send an alerts to all your teammates that to submit or to fill timesheets, we will use this particular automate scheduled Power Automate. And the other one is the desktop flow is there, where you can perform the UI automations in the desktop. Okay, and then process, we have the actions, BPF and the workflows, and here the custom connector where we have used to get that one. And where here I'm going to use the cloud flow here, the especially the instant one. So just so simply for any flow, you need a trigger. So just I have used this particular trigger flow, and then just I can click on it, and also I can skip as well. If you skip that one, just you will directly get it. So anyhow, you cannot directly use this one. So just first you have to use this particular flow button. Just I took this one, and in the new step, what I'm going to do, right? See, generally we use the Dataverse because if it is an existing connector or if it is an Dataverse connector is there, right? I have all the list of actions that are readily available. Simply I can use it. Remember, these are all actions which are nothing but whatever in our Azure function, we wrote one particular object within one method, right? That is nothing but one method here. Okay, but I don't want it to use one. So here I'm going to use my custom connector where I have this CPM calculator that is present. Just use this one. And see, for the first time when you are connecting this one, right, again it will ask you to create a connection where you have to again provide you the key, that is nothing but in my function app URL, just take out this particular piece and then use that one. So if you observe, right, I have one particular action here, and just I can use this one, and then I can manually provide the values, and then save it. It will take some time to save. Okay, it's saved. So now how can we see? Main thing here, right? We have to uh, check for any errors or warnings. Just like any C# code that we write in Visual Studio, if there are any errors and warnings, automatically our .NET framework will throw out an errors or the warning saying that please use this one. And if you have included any FX cop and style cop related ones, it can provide all these values, all these respected errors and warnings. In the same way for Power Automate also, if you use this particular flow checker, it will highlight as errors and warnings that are present. I don't have it. So now how I can just test it? How can you do it? Test manually and automatically. You can only do it automatically if at all any existing triggers are present. As I don't have any triggers, just I am going to save and test. See, I have to sign in. Okay, as I have used this particular connector, I have to sign it. So if at all you are running the flow for the first time, then you can you have to sign in. As I have already created that one, right? I could see this trigger tick mark here. Just click on continue. This flow uses the CPM calendar, reviews the connections and actions. If you have some doubt, then you can simply go back and see, okay, what are the actions and what are the connections that are present. Now, just I can run the flow. And if you observe, right, I have these values 10, 15, 20, 25. The value is 1250 in the same way. So this is how we can do it. So the same Canvas app, if I wanted to run it, ten, 15, 20, I'll get the same 1250, and then the same flow. When if I run it, I will get the same. So save it. I wanted to test it. The same value, I got it. Okay, and if you still have some doubt, right, whether how this particular flows, how the network, how my particular API has been called, how is the request and response, then you have to go for the particular debugging that was specified by the Krishna in the today morning session. Just you have to enable the traces, and then you can see that particular flows and all. So in this way, uh, you can use your custom connector in the Power Automate flow so that you can easily do this one. And with that, my so here my dots here, right? So before joining this particular session, you might be unaware of this particular common logic, how it can be built in Power Apps, and within Power Apps like Canvas app and the Power Automate, how they can interact with this common logic with the help of this particular custom connector. Hope you understood this particular way of doing it. So these are nothing but my dots here. So if you dot, so if you connect all your dots in a proper way, then your application will be long lasting, and also it is easy to maintain, and it follows the best architecture, that is separation of concerns, where every component is independent of its own. So with this, I have completed my explanation and session on this connecting dots with Power Platform. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I think Sagar, you are on mute.
My bad. My bad. Thank you, Venkata, for an amazing session. It looks like we don't have any question as of now. Um, I there was a bundle of three different things, and it was very it's like it's a part of digital transforming. Like people used to try to hide their code with other things, and I personally in favor of the custom connectors when we there is an encapsulation or something there. So I really like your session, and finally at the end when the session ends, I found that all nodes are connecting over there with the help of Power Apps, Power Automate, and Custom Connector. So thank you. I guess people are a bit shy to ask the question. They can ask over a chat, or also those who are having questions and don't want to bother here, they can directly connect with the Venkata on his social media. Venkata is a very active on social medias. Like he is writing 2 or 3 maybe blog post in a day. So we also would like to ask you to reach on his blogs so that you can get a lot of new things time by time. So shall
Hey
I?
Venkata, yes, just want to say one thing.
Yes, yes,
Hi
Shalini.
Venkata,
Hey.
your
Hi, sir.
session was amazing. Like I learned a lot of new things today via your session. It was really great.
Thank you, Shalini.
Thank you. Thank you, Chams, for providing this opportunity so as to empower many people in this area, because Azure functions, everything, Power Platform and cloud is, they are not an you can, they are not independent. They are dependent, and they are one, and they will give hand to hand and all. So, and again, for the pro developers and the developers, don't think that with the no code and low code way of developing the apps and all, your importance is not going. No, with these custom connectors, right, it is not that much easy to build these apps for the people who have not that much insights in the programming languages and all. So always, so see, for every person there will be their importance, right? In the same way it lays here also. So again, I wanted to stress this one, and also this is one of the important session where it will help on to empower more people.
Great. Thanks, Venkata. Since we don't have any questions, I'm going for the thank you so much, Venkata, and thank you everyone for joining. We appreciate your presence. We hope that you are taking away some powerful learnings from Venkata's session. And again, thanks, Venkata, for sharing some knowledge and representing about the connecting dots with the Power Platform and sharing your knowledge with us. Thank you.